Of December 6, 2026. December, I wish. January 6, 2026. If you'd all rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to give you some introductions and instructions for the meeting, and then we'll proceed. The Goffstown Zoning Board is an elected board of 5 members and up to 5 alternates, appointed by the Zoning Board. Currently, the board has 5 elected members and 4 alternates or 3? 4 alternates. Whew, biggest board since I've been here. If anyone is interested in serving on the ZBA, please contact the Planning Zoning Office at the Town Hall for more information. The board has posted an agenda for each meeting and intends to follow the items in order. The board will open the public hearing on an application to receive testimony from applicants, abutters, and affected parties and ask questions about the appeal. The public hearing will then be closed and the board will enter into deliberative session to discuss the merits of the appeal. For each application, the board will decide to approve with conditions, deny, or continue the public hearing to a later date. You are welcome to watch the deliberations this evening, or you can call the zoning department at 603-497-8990, extension 815, to get the results. For an applicant to request, if an applicant's request to be approved, there must be an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. This is not going to be an issue today because we are a full board with alternates. If you are aggrieved by a decision made by the ZBA tonight, you have the right to appeal to the Superior Court or the New Hampshire Housing Appeals Board. However, before appealing, you must request a hearing with this board to preserve your right to appeal. Rehearing requests must be filed within 30 days of the decision and state all reasons why the decision was unlawful or unreasonable. Failure to request a rehearing may forfeit your ability to appeal. I'd like to do the board introductions, and we can start over there. Davis?
Davis Allen, alternate.
Charlie Farley, alternate.
Kristen Dawes, alternate.
Jason Cody, Vice Chair.
Denise Langley, Chair.
Leonard Stewart, member.
John Belleville, member. Jack Shepherd, Building Inspector, Code Enforcement and Zoning.
Okay. We will continue back into order, but I would like to address one item, and that is the Adam Davis over at Warren Ave. Make sure I got the right one here. Well, one of the abutters was not contacted properly by the town. It is 71 Warren Ave. Is anybody here from 71 Warren Ave? In light of that, we're going to have to re-notify the abutters, and we would like to continue this meeting to the next meeting, which is going to be...
That's a good question.
It may have to change date because we have a conflict with the deliberative session on that date. So if any abutters are here or the applicant is here, we are going to request, we'll do a vote to extend this meeting to the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Which alternate is voting?
Oh, we do. I'll pick you for this.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, all in favor of extending to the next
Aye.
meeting? Any against? Okay, motion carries. Next meeting. You will be notified by the town exactly the date due to the confusion. I'm not sure if the applicant's here. Oh, you are? Okay, we apologize that was missed through the town level. But if the abutters are not notified and they have a conflict, no matter what we do, this could become an issue. So we apologize for wasting your time.
Okay. They're the ones on that side that the variance is going for, so it's understandable.
Oh, yeah, and it wouldn't matter where they were, if they were in a butter. So we apologize.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you. Just didn't want to have to make you wait for nothing. Okay. So the first case, I am going to have to recuse myself. I know the applicant, and it'd be best if I recuse myself. So, and you can, you'll have to
So-
get 2 alternates, because I'm stepping down.
Yep, so, just to keep going in order, so Charlie and Davis, you guys will be the board alternates for this, this hearing. Andrew Cassidy, owner in Shaughnessy Allard PLLC, Brett W. Allard Esquire, applicant, are seeking 3 variances to allow for multifamily on 2 abutting lots within the agricultural zone. The first variance being requested is to allow for the multifamily use, whereas it is not permitted per section 3.11 sub A sub 3, table of principal uses of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The second variance requested is per section 4.3, the table of dimensional regulations of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, as the proposed total number of dwelling units will exceed the maximum allowed number of dwelling units per buildable acre, which is 0.8 acres. The third variance is required per section 5.14 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, as the structures will not have the required public sewer system and will be serviced by on-site septic systems. The project proposes constructing 1 2-unit duplex on lot 19, in addition to an existing single-family residence with accessory dwelling unit, and constructing 2 2-unit duplexes on lot 19-1 with a shared driveway between the 2 lots. The properties are located at 40 Henry Bridge Road, map 26, lot 19, and vacant lot on Henry Bridge Road, map 26, lot 19-1, both zoned agricultural. Will entertain a motion for regional impact.
I'll move no regional impact.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
The minutes from November's?
Oh, we'll go back to that after when Denise is back.
Okay.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
All right, good evening. My name is Matt Peterson with Keach Nordstrom Associates, here representing the variance applications in front of the Goffstown Zoning Board tonight regarding parcels 2619 and 2619-1 along Henry Bridge Road in Goffstown, New Hampshire. With me tonight is the applicant's attorney, Brett Allard. We also have the owner applicant, Andrew Cassidy, who is also a Goffstown resident and purchased this property and owns this property with us also tonight. The handout I gave you just was kind of exhibits, nothing's different, the plans are the same, so we submitted all that, just kind of gives a little background on it. So the first one here is the aerial photo. As you can see, these parcels are located along the north side of Henry Bridge Road, kind of about halfway between Mass Road and Goffstown Back Road. You can see from the aerial that there are commercial, industrial types, basically all along Mass Road. I think we all know that. Kind of runs all the way up in there. If you drove by the site tonight on your way over here or so, you would notice that you can see the lights from all the commercial entities and stuff like that kind of up on Mass Road on this site here where we are. So it kind of gives you a location of where we are along that there. There's also some commercial something across the street on Henry Bridge Road. I don't know what it is. It's parked cars. It's kind of a little fenced-in area. It might be an impound yard. I'm not really sure at the end of it, but there's some used cars, stuff like that that are there. And then obviously a mixed bag in the surrounding areas. There's a church down there that I used to attend 22 years ago, I think it was, here when I lived in town. So again, lots of different things in this area that's there. We also have the St. Orange business that was located just on the other side of the river for a little while that was down there too, that I think has been cleaned up and kind of moving forward in that site that's down there. If you take a look at the second page I handed out to you.
Excuse me for just one moment. Jack, can you close the door? I can't hear them very well. Thank you. I'm sorry, please continue.
No worries. So on the second sheet that we handed out there, you can take a look at the tax map. You'll notice again the kind of mismatched zoning in this area as well. We have some agricultural zone land across the street from us that appears to be used for that type of commercial I talked about. We have a residential one across the street from 2619. We have the CIFZ zone, which is about 80 feet off of Henry Bridge Road, and then the remaining is agricultural. So I think a lot of us probably have taken this road as a cut through back and forth here. Again, we have a pretty high commercial entity on Mass Road, and then we make ourselves over to the residential single family on Goffstown Back Road. And this has kind of always been kind of a transition area, I would say, between the two districts that are there. What the applicant is looking to do here, so if you turn to the next page, you'll see The actual survey, I don't know if you guys always see full survey plans on zoning board applications, but on this one here, we recommended to Andrew that it made a lot of sense to go get our wetland scientists out there to flag the wetlands. We have the Piscataquag River behind us a little bit, and then a little brook that comes down to it, a little wetland finger from our property that goes down to it. So we had him invest the money. Again, he does own these properties. He's not like have an agreement on it and he's looking to flip it in a year. He's actually got the existing house rented out as a single-family home right now, adding some stock to the housing market in the town here. So again, full existing additions plan was done, topoed, wetlands, and surveyed. What you'll notice on that there is that 26-19, which is the northwesterly parcel, is about 3.8 acres in size. The existing house is shown clearly up in the front. Then you can see the slope kind of drops off and then goes back. And if you kind of looked at the aerial photo, it's kind of a field back in there down on the lower part. So the piece kind of has two, an upper tier and a lower tier that's there. The lower tier I thought was going to be in the floodplain. As you can see, we did a floodplain line there, and it's not in the floodplain there. So there actually would have been some opportunity to put something down in there, but I think you'll see with our product and what's out there that it makes more sense for us to be up the hill and leave this, which has a nice visual view. If you're coming from Goffstown Back Road over to Mass Road, leaving this field and stuff like that, you're still going to see a lot of the same visuals that you did in the past. One of the things that I've tried to do in 30 years of developing is that leaving something for my children that they're still going to drive up and down the streets and see stuff that fits in. I had done the hardware store in town here many years ago with Larry Brown. I think that fits in extremely well in the downtown area here. So, you know, Andrew kind of said, hey, what can I do with this piece? Obviously, there's commercial stuff here. Could I do some garden styles? Can I do some commercial? What kind of fits in here? You know, we kind of worked with him to kind of get something that made sense kind of on this location, on these parcels. So that's the one piece that's 3.82 that has the existing house. The other parcel, 2619-1, is 1.42 acres in size. Again, nothing on it right now, but you have the flat area up top, and then the slope drops off, and that is the property line on the back side there. They do not have any more land back on the other side of that there. This does have town water down Henry Bridge Road. You heard that we're asking for variance for sewer because it does not have sewer in this location down here. So we turn to the last sheet. That was our ZBA exhibit that we had submitted with this application. What we'd like to do is keep the existing rental home on lot 2619. It's one of the older homes in the Grashmere area. It does have some history to it. It's not historic in any sense, but it's been there for quite some time. And as you know, your Grashmere district is one of your first settled areas in the town here. So we'd like to keep the existing home if possible on that lot and add a proposed duplex to the back of it. Kind of as we had shown, one driveway access point coming into it and access that one on the back. On the second parcel there with the open land there and the field there, or the open up top parcel, we'd like to propose 2 duplexes or 4 units in that location. We have met with DPW and stuff like that way back when we started this to talk about the access of driveways. The existing house right now is not the greatest location driveway, so we would be closing that driveway off and doing one curb cut for all 4 of these homes if we were so granted the variances to move forward. We have shown some parking and stuff like that on the site to make sure that it is usable and workable. Again, I think a lot of times you see a lot of parcels with every little piece that is being utilized. I will say we had many more duplexes on this previously to coming forward with you guys here because the owner felt that there was a lot of open space as well that I left on the piece. But I think this fits really nice out there. It gives nice green space between the units. We have plenty of room. We went out and did some test pits for septic. We actually did preliminaries right now. We have not gone and permitted them through the state yet, but my septic designer in-house had done designs to make sure that they did work. And like I said, this is serviced by town water. That's my presentation from the engineering standpoint. I'm going to let Brett get into the arguments and why we're here for the variances and go from there. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Matt. Again, Brett Allard with Shaughnessy Allard. I'm the attorney for the applicant on this project. And really just to sort of echo what Matt said before we dive into the variance criteria, I think most, if not all, of the relief we're requesting is driven by the fact that these parcels are located in the agricultural district, technically. But when you look at, how this area is actually developed over time, if you look at the other lots around it, and if you look at the zoning map in particular, you can see it really is in a transitional area. So we're located right across from the primary industrial district that runs along the Mass Road corridor. You can see there's some parcels that abut the residential 1 district, so it really is a decidedly mixed-use area. And just from what I can tell, based on the publicly available records between, Google Maps, tax maps, driving up and down the road, other uses in the area include, we have the single-family dwelling in the ADU. There's other properties in the area that have those types of uses. There's 2 family dwellings. There's a commercial residential mixed-use property. There's a daycare, a children's school, auto repair shop, motorsport service business. I think we heard there's an impound lot, a church, a car dealer, a restaurant, a car wash, and a contractor yard, all within this one area. So it is sort of a mixed bag. It is sort of higher, not super high density, but higher density than what you would think of if you were sitting in the middle of the agricultural zone. So with that orientation and that idea in mind, that's sort of how we crafted the project. It's how the lens through which we're sort of looking at the variance criteria. So just to briefly run through those, number 1, granting the variances will not be contrary to the public interest. Again, on the intersection of the agricultural, industrial, and residential 1 district. And if you look at the zoning ordinance and the explanation or description of the industrial, the CIF-Z zone here, it encourages sort of large-scale uses. If you look at the R1, which is right next door, it encourages medium density residential uses. And we think this is pretty much properly characterized as sort of a medium density residential use that's sort of appropriate for this type of the area. It's not situated in the middle of the agricultural zone, far removed from significant development and utilities. And in fact, if you look at the definition of the agricultural zone or the description of the agricultural zone in the zoning ordinance, it says that you most likely will not have sort of municipal utilities. But we are connected to town water, because again, the nature of the area, the transitional area we're in, and we think that it's sort of consistent with the area in that regard, and that the public interest is therefore not violated and no alteration to the essential character of the area. Number 2, granting the variances will be consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. Really, the spirit of all 3 of these variances is to minimize overcrowding and congestion in light of the utilities that are available on the particular parcel. As Matt described here, we have plenty of room for these duplexes and the related infrastructure. We have plenty of room for parking. We're actually showing 17 spaces where only 8 are required. Each unit is going to have a 1-bay garage plus the 1 spot out in the driveway. You have the 5 guest spot spaces there, which would work for overflow or guests, and some significant driveway space even beyond that. So plenty of room for the parking, plenty of room for the curb cut. The curb cut will be an improvement over the existing condition. And we have sufficient area for septic systems. Matt's office and his team there have run that to the ground pretty quickly because we didn't want to obviously pitch something that we weren't going to be able to go get state septic approval for afterwards. So we wanted to get out in front of that and make sure that we were crossing our T's and dotting our I's. Since we're connected to municipal water, we don't need wells. So we don't need to hold the 75-foot well radius buffer that you need to hold from your septic and leach fields. If we had to do that, this project probably wouldn't work. But because we are in this area very close to existing development, very close to the Mass Road corridor, we have that water. And because of that, the septic systems work here where they probably wouldn't otherwise. So for all of those reasons, we think this project really is consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. Number 3, granting the variance would do substantial justice. As the board knows, this is the balancing test between public and private rights. We don't see any injury to the public if the variances are granted, or gain to the public if the variance is denied. Really only loss to both parties there, the applicant and the public, if the variances are denied. On the one hand, granting the variances would serve to generally revitalize the property and make good use of its sort of underutilized portions, as Matt said. You know, we have sort of the bisection of the brook here. We have an upper tier and a lower tier. And because of that, we have sort of what I've, think can be characterized as underutilized land that could be more prudently utilized to add another 6 units to the town's housing stock. So we think that's a benefit to both the applicant and the public, and therefore the balance of the equities favor granting the variances. Number 4, the values of surrounding properties won't be diminished. We're holding all of our setbacks from the wetlands, we're holding all of our setbacks from the road, holding all of the side setbacks, not proposing to build closer to any abutters than is otherwise allowed, such that the values of their properties could be diminished. And then, of course, if the variances are granted, this is not our last stop by any means. In addition to all the state approvals that'll be required, we'll also have to proceed to the planning board for site plan approval, which will further ensure that surrounding property values aren't diminished via application of the town's site plan regs. Number 5, unnecessary hardship. First, special conditions. This property, I think, is pretty unique in its environment, has many special conditions. Most of the agriculturally zoned land in town is either north of Mass Road and north of the Piscataquag River, and in areas where municipal water and sewer are not available. That's the big chunk of agricultural land in town. There's another second pocket of it down south of Mass Road as you get towards the Bedford line. But other than that, this is really one of only a very slim minority of lots that are sandwiched in an area that's north of Mast Road but south of the river and tied into municipal water. So I think the combination of that location and orientation in conjunction with the sort of unique impact of the wetlands on the site and the nearby river, the existing single family and the ADU, the fact that these are 2 separate lots of record but held in common ownership. When you take all of them, individually, but really cumulatively, I think that renders the property particularly unique in its environment. And owing to those special conditions, we don't see a fair and substantial relationship between the purpose and application of the subject requirements here. So even though multifamily uses are strictly not allowed, again, these duplexes, I think, are consistent with the medium density and mixed-use character of the Mass Road corridor here. Particularly suitable for the site due to its location in the transitional zone between the industrial, residential 1, and agricultural zones. We have sufficient area for the buildings, for the septics, for the driveways, for the parking. Everything works. Again, we're tied into municipal water, so we really don't need as much land as we would otherwise if we had to have wells. And so we don't think there'll be any overcrowding or congested development. That's really the primary driver here of the purposes of the provisions we're trying to waive. So we also ran the building coverage to the ground. It's a 10% maximum in the agricultural zone. We're only at 2.4% on lot 19 and 8.9% on lot 19-1. So, and again, we're providing that's with providing more than double the parking that's actually required by the zoning ordinance. So we don't think it's too much. We don't, not trying to just cram as many units in as possible. We think this strikes a fair balance between what the zoning ordinance intends, and we don't think it is certainly not going to give rise to the harms it intends to prevent. It's sort of I think a good project, a lot that can support the proposal on sort of a unique site. And with that, we think it's a reasonable request and a viable plan, and be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Thank you.
Let me start out with one. What kind of ownership model are you talking about? Are these going to remain rental duplexes? Will this property be ever subdivided?
The goal of, hold on. You gotta come up. So the goal of this is to have them all rentals. This, again, he lives in town. This is making having him some financial freedoms there with this here. So at this point here, they're all proposed to be rentals. I mean, but that, 20 years they could propose to conduit.
Okay, my other sticking point on this is, please elaborate on what you consider. I just don't see the hardship, because you're looking for more than triple the density that is allowed in that zone. I believe that the calculation is 1.8 or something like that units or acre. Property is developable in its current zoning, and I'm having trouble seeing what the hardship would be to, proceed on that basis.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that question. So I think in order to, the hardship test is, there's a lot to unpack. It's sort of a convoluted test. And the first test is, are there special conditions of the property, one, that distinguish it from other properties in the area? And based on that, is there a fair and substantial reason to strictly apply the zoning ordinance here? So the Supreme Court has said that the mere fact that you could develop the lots within the bounds of current regulations doesn't necessarily mean there's no hardship, because that doesn't answer the question of, are there special conditions that distinguish it from others in the fair and substantial relationship. So here, I ran through the special conditions. I think a big thing is there's not a lot of lots between Henry Bridge or Mass Road and the river that are sandwiched in there that have this much land in the way that it's oriented, with the brook running through it, and that are also tied into municipal water. It's not something you're going to find in the agricultural district usually, and certainly, this is in a sort of unique in-between area between the industrial, agricultural, and residential 1 zones. The agricultural, or the industrial and the residential 1 both sort of encourage this type of medium density development. So those are sort of the special conditions. Now, is there that distinguishes from others in the area? Now is the second part of the test, is there a fair and substantial reason in light of those to strictly apply the density requirement here? We would say no, because the purpose of a density variance is to ensure, or the purpose of density requirements is to ensure there's not going to be overcrowding, congested development, too much and too little of a space. Here, we've sort of laid out a number of reasons for why that particular issue is not going to manifest itself if these variances are granted, because, as you can see, we're still within the lot coverage percentage, so we're not exceeding the amount of lot coverage. We're still able to provide double the amount of parking. We're still able to get state approval for the septic systems because we're tied into water. The buffers aren't overlaying each other. We're not asking for any setback variances. We're keeping everything within the building envelope. So those are all reasons why the overcrowding and congested development harm that the density requirement is aimed at preventing are not going to manifest itself if the variance is granted. And so I apologize for the long and convoluted answer, but the hardship test is a long, convoluted test. So I think it's I think it's helpful to break it down into its subparts, which oftentimes results in me giving a long answer. So for that, I apologize, but I hope that makes sense.
Although I would take exception to one thing. If by your own map, you say it's near residential 1 zone, it appears to me what you've got there is probably residential 1, a spot zoning that happened years ago because everything else in that area is either CIFZ, in which residential is specifically barred by a town vote a couple of years ago, and the rest of the area is agricultural. So, I think R1 is an aberration, if nothing else.
Correct. And wouldn't you, isn't that exactly what this map is kind of showing you, is that you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that have come and changed to R1 from what was agricultural.
Right.
So now we're going to be the 6th lot that's asking us to do something a little different than agricultural. I think we're following exactly what's happening down here, personally.
But one of the things this board does not like to do is spot zoning. It's something we've tried to avoid, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and then just one more back thing though, when you say about the zone and stuff like that. So this is allowed a single-family home with, what, today, 4 to 5 bedrooms? We're proposing 3 bedrooms on these here, so, we kind of put something together that made sense to what the single-family was there and what was proposed on that. So.
Just a quick question. So because the driveway for the existing house that's
Yes.
there?
Yep.
Did I understand correctly, you're gonna get rid of the driveway, I assume put the parking on the other side or off the road that's getting created there?
Probably 2 of those 5 parking spaces, somewhere in there, we probably designate for the house.
Okay,
I want to remove the gravel that's going to be around it and up around that house.
okay. Thanks.
I just have one question. It's a pretty simple one. Can the property be used in strict conformance with the ordinance?
Sure,
Yeah.
Okay.
but that's
Everything
not
can.
the test.
Right. Anything can be, that's why we come and ask for variances.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Well,
Yep.
you can't deny us because we're asking for the variance, right?
Oh, understood.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, we could put a single-family residential house on this lot, on
Mhm.
Henry Bridge Road, for a family of 2 kids, 3 kids to play in the area, drive their bikes up and down that area. I mean, that's, yes, we could do a single family. We thought it made more sense for duplexes.
I have more of an observation, but it looks like the percentage of coverage here is calculated by the total square footage, not the total buildable area.
Yes, we did 2 of them here. We did the building coverage and the impervious. So the one that Attorney Brett referenced was the 2 and the 8, and then just when you add in the parking, the pavement, and stuff like that, we added in what the impervious would be, and we're at 4% impervious and 19.4 total impervious of the site.
Because I'm looking back and forth on how we define density is usually the developed area over the buildable area, at least in the table 4.3.
Yeah, I didn't
What I'm
do
trying to
I didn't do
figure
a
out.
buildable area calculations for you, sorry.
Any other board questions?
I had one more thing about
Sure.
the reference there. So if you notice on our note here, number 5 on sheet 1 of 1, notwithstanding maximum density, a 2-family dwelling, a duplex, is allowed if the lot has both 3 acres and 300 feet of frontage. So technically, lot 2619 already has that, but it has the existing house on it. That's why we're asking that there. So we're not, this is kind of allowed in this area. I could put a duplex, I could tear down the single-family house and put up a duplex on that site today.
Yes.
By right,
So,
yes.
I could do that.
Yep.
We're trying to keep the single-family house and put the
And I
duplex on
think you
that.
might be able to put a duplex on the other lot as well.
It has to be 3 acres, and it's 1.4. That's kind of what got us
I
to here
believe
with
it's
you
a
guys.
duplex allowed by right on any buildable lot.
I don't know in R1 if that's true.
And just to touch base again on this, the strict compliance question, whether the property can be used in strict conformance with the ordinance reasonably, actually used to be the hardship test back in the day. Then there was a case called Governor's Island Club, and the Supreme Court actually said that test was too restrictive of individual property rights to continue being the test. And so a new test emerged, and the new hardship test is essentially, it came from a case called Simplex, and that's what you see in the statute today for the most part. Special conditions, fair and substantial, blah, 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 blah. What the legislature did when they codified that statute in 2009 is they said you can meet hardship 2 ways. One is this new less restrictive test. Special conditions, fair and substantial relationship between the purpose and application of the subject requirements. But what they did is they said, or if you can't meet that, you can go on to subsection B, which is can the property be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance. That's the holdover from the Governor's Island test.
So the A is, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance, the purpose of the ordinance by RSA 67416 is to promote the health, safety, general welfare of the community in part, and then section C, the zoning ordinance shall be designed to regulate, section C, the density of the population. So the purpose is to control density, and so I don't think we meet A, and B has to do with owing to the special conditions of the property that diminish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance.
So we don't. So I wouldn't say that to control density is the purpose of a density requirement, because that's kind of just saying, that. Well, yes, the purpose of a density requirement is to control density, but that doesn't really get at what the underlying purpose is. The underlying purpose why would you want to control density? What's the purpose of controlling density? And that's to prevent overcrowding, prevent congested development, prevent people from building on top of each other in ways that it creates fire safety hazards or life safety hazards. So, you know, the courts have been clear that, you know, if you're asking for a variance to add more density, but there's a density variance that's required, it can't be denied just because you're asking to exceed the allowable density. It's sort of a circular thing. That's why you have to look at the underlying purpose of density and say, are those harms going to manifest themselves if this variance is granted? Is there going to be overcrowding? Is there going to be congestion? Is there going to be fire and life safety hazards because we're putting too much in too small of a space? That's really the purpose, when you're addressing the purposes of density. And here, you know, I think clearly the answer is no, it's not too much in too small a space. Those issues and harms aren't going to manifest themselves. And so we do meet that first part of the hardship test. And if you do meet that first part of the hardship test, you don't move on to the strict conformance because you only need to satisfy one.
Anyone else on the board side? All right, I'll open it up to the public, if you guys wouldn't mind stepping back. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make comment? Sir, please come on up. Have a seat in the thrones of justice there, and just let us know what your name and address is, if you would, please.
Mike Bolbear, 51 Henry Bridge Road. I'm not opposed that he's building stuff there. I'm just opposed of building the apartment units there. If you wanted to put a house up, great. I'm okay with that. I just don't think it's going to be a great value thing for me at my house. So that's my opinion on that. That's all I got to say on it.
Where are you located in relation to the property?
So I'm at 51, so if you look on the corner of New Road and Henry Bridge, I'm on Henry Bridge, it's a driveway.
The one's right on the corner there?
Yes, sir, on Henry Bridge.
We have them listed on
Okay.
our plans, you take a look at our plan.
Okay.
Butters are saying right, left-hand corner. He said 51 Henry Beach.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So I'm not opposed that he's building stuff, I just don't want apartments there. I'd like, you know, if he wants to put a house or whatever you guys approve, great, you know. In my eyes, it's
So
just,
basically what you're saying is the density that he's proposing.
exactly. I'm not opposed that he builds something there, I'm just opposed of that project, that's all.
Understood.
All set?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anyone else, sir?
Donald Duval, owner of Duval's Towing Service. I'm directly across the street from this project. I'm the guy with the lot,
Oh, I see. Okay.
with the storage lot. We are a 24/7 operation. I want you guys to consider that. There's a lot of activity over there, sometimes all night long. And the rental part of the properties, I don't agree with. I think a single house, I'm fine with that. Then you gotta consider the traffic on Henry Bridge Road. They come down Henry Bridge Road at a good clip. If you start having apartments, children, it cause some problems. Play in their yards, they're always out on the road. If they're, right now, we don't have that problem. Because there is no children, no families. And if I'm right, I'm not positive, but I think there's already a couple of apartments in that house. But I just want to let you know we're been a 24/7 7 operation here for over 40 years. That'll probably consider some complaints. That's about all I got to say.
Anyone?
Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Wayne Saberka, 68 Henry Bridge Road. It's agricultural district. I don't think it should be allowed as planned. Not only that, their survey is off. They're taking some of my land.
Where,
Yeah,
what was
sorry.
your address, Mr. Saperka, and
68.
where are you located in relation to the properties?
New road on the other side, across from the church.
Okay.
Where's your map? I'll show you. You don't have to read it easy, I guess.
Let's keep it simple, please, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
They're taking land on the county farm roadside, which is not theirs. They own 75 feet from Henry Bridge down that road, and that's as far as they own. Thank you.
I want to look it up on the GIS system here. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? No? Gentlemen, I'll invite you back up to offer any rebuttals. This tool every time we go to use it.
Let me ask another question while
Please.
Jason is looking that up. Let me ask this, we're being asked to consider these 2 lots as one project. And I am presuming as far as what you're proposing to do is essentially going to be a private road access rather than, because it sounds like what you're proposing is going to be more than a driveway down the middle, and you got a property line going right down the middle. Will the properties have deed restrictions or easements in the event that, say, at some point it's either subdivided or one or the other of the property changes hands, and in the event of the, let's go out a generation, in the event of the current owner's passing or change in ownership?
Sure.
How is
Yeah,
that kind of situation going to be handled?
So currently, since the 2 lots are held in common ownership, there wouldn't be any easements because by law you can't give yourself an easement. But in the future, if there was ever to be a severance of ownership, there would probably be cross access for easements that would arise for the common area of the driveway, which would be something that would be dealt with at the planning board level in terms of those being required. That could be a condition of the planning board's approval. That in the event common ownership extinguishes, then easements need to be recorded or something to that effect. So.
It's very similar to what you guys just had done on Sparkle Lane there, where the lot line is in the middle of it there. The car wash has one half, the other one has another half there. Very similar. They do that in a lot of places to minimize curb cuts on roads and stuff like that, to put it down the property lines. Typically, we would do easements, but again, because the same ownership, don't really have that option here.
You can do declaration. You can do a declaration with one owner and sort of declare easements on your own land that sort of are meaningless until there's no more common ownership, and then they just exist in the ether. And then once there's no more common ownership, they come into existence. that's one way to do it, so, yes, that could either be done now or later, and it would probably be done as part of the planning board approval.
And I just to reiterate, which I didn't know the level was 24/7 on the place across the street, which really puts a little hardship on us as far as a single-family home now, if it's going to be activity all night long and putting people in there. So I have a feeling that those people might complain more than rental people would complain putting something in there. And then the second thing I want to do, when you take a look at the plan that's there, on sheet 1 of 1, that the ZBA exhibit there, and you see the 2 duplexes we proposed. As you know, the state law just changed everything on ADUs. If you take a look at my plan, and I did this intentionally, the first duplex on the right side there is basically where a single-family house would sit. The second duplex is where you'd put the garage with the ADU above it. Again, we really, really worked what we thought would be very similar to what would actually be built out there, just in a little different program because of the activity going on the street, the stuff that goes on through there compared to a single-family home that's out there. So.
And just because I want to make sure I'm reading this
Yep.
right. So there's going to be proposed 2 units on map 2619 and 4 units on map 19-1 or 2619-1.
Yep.
Thank you for clearing that up.
And the existing house is 2 units.
It is an existing house with an ADU.
So, 1.5, for all intents and purposes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments before I close the public hearings? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we shall deliberate and/or motionize.
So did we do regional impact?
We did.
We did.
That's on my little script. Anyone? Bueller?
I'm just trying to understand, so you can only have 1 ADU,
You can only have 1 ADU.
but this is a house plus ADU, and then the other one's not an ADU, it's a multi-building.
It's a duplex.
I'm trying to figure out the classifications.
So,
Make sure I understand
and
it right.
correct me if I'm wrong, but an ADU is an additional component of an existing dwelling unit. So we can't necessarily question the use of it because it is part of the original home. The duplexes are 2 individual residences by 2, in general, unrelated, but I suppose you could have a brother-in-law and a sister on one side. That's a little bit more detailed than I think matters, but that's the gist of it. It's different people. So, we're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 17 cars roughly coming in and out of that driveway on Henry Bridge Road. So that's one thing that I see. I know that the town will, the select board deals with that. The
Well, I
planning
mean,
board deals with that.
that's a site plan issue, but it's also a density issue. It goes to the whole question of avoiding overcrowding, and I think for those of us, and I drive Henry Bridge Road sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, I'm quite familiar with that area. I think you add another 15 or 20 cars entering in the middle of that road.
In that
That's a
curved
big
spot.
question of, that's a big question of, you know, once again, it goes straight to the density issue.
If it wasn't so dense, it wouldn't be quite so dangerous.
If it were, as the applicant said, if it were a single-family house, it wouldn't be an issue, but when you're talking about 2, 4, 6 additional dwelling units, plus the existing, you know, you're definitely increasing the density of the area beyond what, you know, when the calculation is for one dwelling unit allowable on that lot, and you're asking for triple.
Yeah.
The other piece of it that I'm kind of struggling with is, 674-16 is, for the purpose of promoting the health and safety and general welfare of the community, zoning ordinance shall be designed to regulate and restrict the density population. That is in the RSA, and it goes on. 674-17 says the zoning ordinance shall be designed to prevent overcrowding of land, to avoid undue concentration of population, and in part to encourage the preservation of agricultural lands. I don't see where we're meeting that requirement, and where would we have, we don't have the authority to amend the zoning ordinance or the zoning map.
Right.
And-
We just look
and
at it
it's
the
like-
way it is.
Right, and even if this were in R1, which is, I still don't think they allow this density.
I have to look at the table, but I think you're right. And I'm trying to take the same idea of, you know, of this and plunking it on an R1 property. You know, which isn't trying to preserve agricultural space, so.
Well, if you consider what minimum lot size in R1 is 1 acre, correct? And you've got 1.9. Well, I'm just looking at, say, the second lot, 19-1, where you're proposing 2 duplexes, which is for dwelling units on, you know, 1 point, that just wouldn't work in an R1.
Yeah, I was doing the calculations and trying to compare against footnote number 7 on there. This is the buildable acres over 1 acre and up to and including 2 acres, and the buildable square footage is under 2 acres. The maximum is 4 dwelling units per acre of total buildable area in the R1. So if we wanted to like kind of do that comparison, even though it's not R1, see what would be, if it was zoned differently, what do we compare it to? Oh, it says 4.
As I say, I'm hung up on the density issue. I think that, you know, otherwise it's a property that would be amenable to development, but I think that, you know, the applicant is asking for too much in too small an area.
Yeah, I just don't see how we meet the public interest or the spirit of the ordinance. We're in direct conflict with it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I also don't, once again, I don't see the hardship.
I close the
Public hearings closed.
Can we request a point of order? We'll take it back. Well, so obviously I'm not going to make any more legal argument because public hearings are closed, but as a point of order, obviously it sounds like there's concerns. We've heard everyone's concerns. I think it would be better for us to go back to the drawing board, take everything in from tonight, maybe come back with something else that would be more palatable. So could we have a continuance to the next meeting and before the board votes on this tonight?
I would,
Or withdraw and.
I think we could deny it without prejudice, right?
Yes.
That way they can come back there.
I guess I would prefer either a continuance to next meeting and then we submit revised plans, or we could just withdraw the application. I wouldn't want to do a denial without prejudice to the extent that
So
we can avoid it.
let me ask this. If we're going to entertain this, I would have to reopen the public hearing and then I'll allow the request, right?
No, we're
No.
we're deliberating, so it's an action on the request. I don't see a need to reopen the public
Okay.
hearing. We'd have to, if they come in with revised plans, obviously, reopen the public hearing and
You guys know you're picking on a vice chair that has, this low level of
Yeah.
legal experience, right?
he doesn't
Thank you.
like sitting there all that much.
He's on the hot seat.
It's okay.
Yeah.
When the chair comes back.
It doesn't make a huge difference to us whether it's continued to next month and we submit revised plans, that could change the relief that's required, or we could just withdraw the application. So I'll just withdraw the application, and that doesn't even need a vote or anything.
Okay.
So
All right, then the application is then withdrawn.
we'll go back to the drawing board and see if we
Do
can.
we-
We'll be back.
Let me ask Jack, do we need a vote on just
Yes.
approving the withdrawal?
Yes.
I move that we approve the applicant's withdrawal of the application as far as.
Okay. Second from John.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Hereby relinquish the chair.
Sorry.
No, you're not.
That's okay. I've done okay.
You did a great
Everybody
job.
very
You did a
patient.
great job. That was
I appreciate
complicated.
everyone's patience. Thank
Good.
you.
Good job. Have a good night, guys.
I probably would have bit your head off if it came up, though. So it's a good thing I was back there, right? I know him. Like, "Sit."
And that's why you were back there.
There'll be no biting from the chair. All right.
Okay, we're skipping over the Adam,
We do have to do the minutes.
we can do that at the end.
Okay.
Let's just get, so we can get going. If that's okay, just remind
Fine
me,
by me. I
please.
was
Okay.
just,
We're gonna go over the Adam Davis, that's already been continued to the next meeting. Brendan and Amanda Fournier, owner applicants, are seeking a variance to allow for construction of an accessory dwelling unit in the basement of the existing home on a lot that only has 1 acre, whereas 2 acres are required per section 4.3, Table of Dimensional Regulations. In section 5.2.7 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, the property is located at 25 Locust Hill Road, map 5, lot 31, zoned agricultural. Is there a motion for no regional impacts?
So moved.
All in favor?
Nobody
second
said.
it.
Oh, second,
I'll
second. Come on now. All in favor?
Oh, which alternates?
Oh, we're going with you. You did the last two, right? Krista. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Good evening. Thank you for sitting through a long hearing. You can tell us your names for the record?
Brendan Fournier.
Amanda Fournier.
Thank you. And if you can tell us a little bit about your case, why you're here, we'd appreciate it.
We're just trying to, my grandfather is 85. He lived in Goffstown for many, many years on Bog Road. His health is declining, and so we just want to give him a place to live that's safe.
He recently sold his house. He moved to Manchester, staying in an apartment that he relies on elevators that sometimes break, and then it's difficult for him to get upstairs, and he needs to have family more
Icy
nearby, so.
sidewalks and all that jazz.
So we are looking to do an ADU in the basement of our house, so we're not expanding the footprint of the house in any way. We have already had septic plot plans designed and approved by the state. We're on public water as well, so size-wise of the lot doesn't interfere with septic. And really trying to do an ADU more than just a bedroom, so that he can stay on one level in the basement, doesn't have to go upstairs and downstairs, and really having a full kitchen so that he can still cook and do everything in that location without having inconveniences to have to go up and downstairs and whatnot.
Be as independent as he possibly can for as long as he can.
So you have to fill out the criteria of the variance. You don't have to read it word for word, but I would appreciate if you could just go, we have criteria that we have to follow. In items 1 through 5, if you can just very simply, you don't have to go word for word, but like the description of why the variance is required, You've already said that. So if you want to go down to item number 1, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. So it would be page 2 in your application, halfway down the page. And again, you don't have to go word for word, just very briefly.
Yeah,
so
so it
that
would
we
not
have
be,
that read
yeah,
into
not
the
be
record.
contrary to public interest. So the value of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because the ADU is entirely within the existing basement, no change to the exterior footprint or visual appearance of the home. Parking is adequate. We had redone the driveway last year and added parking kind of in preparation to this probably happening, and it was also, our previous driveway was somewhat of a safety hazard, being on the hill with visuals. So we have, I don't know what the minimum parking spaces is, but a minimum of 8 spaces are available there, so that shouldn't be an issue as well. You know, comparable internal ADUs, from what I've researched, haven't shown to reduce surrounding property values. The spirit of... I'm sorry, this copy that I had wasn't in the...
Oh, good.
Was
Thank
it
you,
the
Charlie.
hardship? Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Criteria, alignment with the ordinance intent. The variance supports the ordinance goal of promoting safe, family-oriented housing, consists with the master plan. The ADU aligns with the town's plan for multi-generational living and aging in place. Minimal neighborhood impact. The internal ADU placement ensures no changes to the exterior neighborhood infrastructure. Adequacy of required infrastructure, including septic parking, is in place for town standards. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because granting the variance it would be fully contained. That's the one I just read. Sorry, I'm just
That's okay.
picking up here. Adequate parking exists. Septic has been reviewed and approved. Allowing an elderly member to reside safely with family aligns with the interest of promoting housing flexibility and support aging in place without impacting surrounding properties. Spirit of the ordinance is observed because the spirit of the ordinance, the ADU meets the ordinance's goals for safety, services, and compatibility with residential neighborhoods. The lot can support the use, septic and parking requirements are satisfied, and the unit will be owner-occupied. The ordinance proposes not to defeat by allowing an internal ADU on a lot otherwise satisfies all the functional requirements. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because denial would prevent the homeowner from providing necessary housing for an elderly family member who requires support. Granting the variance creates no harm to the public or neighbors, but provides significant benefit to the applicant and family. When a loss to the applicant is not offset by any gain to the public, substantial justice is served by granting the variance. The surrounding properties, that I must have picked up on the wrong page when I read that, will not be diminished because the values of surrounding properties will not be diminished because the ADU is entirely within the existing basement with no change to the exterior footprint or visual appearance of the home. Parking is adequate, and no commercial or intensive use will occur, and comparable internal ADUs have not been shown to reduce surrounding values. Owing the special conditions that distinguish it from properties in the area, denial of variance will result in unnecessary hardship because. So lot size is the only non-conforming element. All functional ADU requirements, septic capacity, parking, setbacks, and footment are already met. No fair and substantial relationship exists because requiring 2 acres does not serve the ordinance's goal here. The ADU is internal, does not require land area, and does not impact the neighborhood character or burden town services. The proposed use is reasonable because it provides a safe, family-supported housing for an elderly relative without altering the property or neighborhood. ADUs are encouraged residential use in New Hampshire. the criteria in subparagraph A are established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist if and only if the special conditions, even if the above were not accepted, strict conformance prevents a reasonable residential use that creates no negative public impact. The ADU cannot be constructed anywhere else on the property and requires no additional land. And other issues, like I've already said, septic design has been approved, the driveway has already been changed and it meets adequate parking. The ADU is for an elderly family member, will not be rented out to the public, and supports elderly aging in place and creates no burden on the town services.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But I have a question before we go into this. So I thought that if a single-family home was permitted, then by right with the new law, ADUs
The new
are
law is not
permitted.
in effect till March.
Oh, okay.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was January.
I thought it was,
Well, it is January for the detached, but you also, the town has to vote on it.
Oh,
Because we don't have to, you know, hope we don't
no,
vote
I
it in,
thought
but
we had to.
we don't have to go
State-
exactly to what they're saying. What doesn't, that's
Right,
that's
right.
another story. Okay. Thank you very much, we appreciate that. So basically what you're saying is you have a house that's on 1 acre
Yes,
in an area that requires 2 acres.
correct.
So you are pretty much stuck with what you have. You're putting an ADU unit in the same footprint.
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicants?
No, I think the applicant's done a good job in covering all their bases in the presentation, so.
Thank you.
And you did your homework, and I appreciate that. Checking out with the septic system, those are the type of things that we always question. So that's great.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add? Okay, I'm going to check to see if there's anybody in the audience who has any comments. Is there anybody here that would like to comment on this case? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to see if anybody has questions for you, and then start with you, Davis. Do you have any questions for
No questions.
Charlie?
I'm good.
Kristen?
I'm all set, thank you.
I'm all good, thank you.
No,
Okay, I'm going to close, unless you have anything else to say, this is your last opportunity.
Nope.
Looks like it could be scary. No. I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you
Our
very much.
first
You
zoning
can
board
take a
meeting,
seat.
so.
Well, you know, we
Didn't know
do
what you-
have an alternate space available.
And we are always looking,
It is, does sound.
because, you know, some of us are aging out of this.
It does sound very interesting.
Oh, let's talk.
It's my job to open that
Thank
path for you
you.
now.
Thank
right?
you. Good job. Good job. Okay, let's discuss this.
I think
If we
it's,
go by the variance criteria, if we want to run down that really quick. Or, you know, it can be one line, one word, one sentence. But that should be read in anytime we do review the case. Does everybody have this?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, that was actually really very well written, I have to say, as I was going through them.
Theirs, yes.
Yes.
These are basic, these were my basic ones that I did, but it's not a bad thing to have when you're reviewing cases. Sorry, I haven't been here for 3 meetings in a row.
Take them down, Catherine.
I just have always used that as a guideline when we approve, because everything's in order that way.
I'm not sure why you did that.
I,
It's because it's all clear and messed up.
Oh, okay.
They gave me that form.
I'll just open by saying I find
Go.
it's in the public interest providing family-supported housing for an elderly
Yeah.
parent. Same thing, it fits the spirit of the ordinance in terms of, you know, the public purposes of health and safety. Does substantial justice to the owners because they don't have to make other provisions for care of an elderly family member. makes no changes in the footprint or anything of the house, which means it's not going to affect the surrounding property. There's no increase in traffic or anything like that, and the unnecessary hardship, if the ordinance were enforced strictly, would be forcing these people who find alternate care or alternate arrangements for a family member when they want to provide for them. So I think it fits all 5 of the variance criteria very well. I'll move for approval.
Okay.
I will second.
Any comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your application was well written.
That was one of
Thank
the
you.
best ones.
Thank you.
Yes, you get an A.
Just at the end.
I give you an A.
Sorry.
Is that what I'm talking about? I do need that at the end. It's just something I like to do. Okay. I don't know what took you so long with that first case.
Oh, really?
I can blame some of the
I
best
lost
of
my
them.
page, sorry. Where is my
Bedford Design.
cover sheet? Yeah, I'm looking at my cover sheet.
Okay,
Guys,
Mountain
I'll
Road.
be behind my computer. I'm ready.
Okay, moving forward. Bedford Design Consultants, Inc., applicant John A. Brown, owner, are seeking a variance to subdivide the property into 2 lots and allow 2 existing accessory structures to be located within the inner 50 feet of the 100-foot wetland surface water conservation district buffer. That's a mouthful. Per section 13.3.3.5 of Goffstown zoning ordinance. The variance is required to subdivide the property. The property must conform to the current zoning and subdivision requirements. The property is located at 567 Mountain Road, map 1, lot 47, zone conservation and open space. Do you have a motion regarding regional impact?
I'll motion no regional impact.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, no regional impact.
Who's the voting alternate on it?
Charlie, please. We're going right down the line, sorry.
My turn.
Hello, could you introduce yourself, please?
Robert Baskerville of Bedford Design Consultants, glad to be here.
Welcome.
I'm here for John Allen Brown, who's in the audience. He has a property at 567 Mountain Road, which right now is 11.8 acres. He wants to subdivide that into 2 lots, one of 6.5 acres, one of 5.3 acres. No variances on that required, meets all setbacks, meets all conditions. No other issues, no other wetland impacts. The wetlands were flagged by Luke Hurley, a wetland scientist. And today, the way the ordinance is written, if you look at those 2 pink structures up there, one's a sugar shack that's been there for at least 25 years or more. I saw it on an 88 map. And the other one is a small car temporary storage structure. It's got a roof and no sides.
What's the size of that?
I think it's
Roughly.
8 by 20,
Okay.
one vehicle. The sugar shack's probably 30 by 35, plus or minus a couple of feet. So they're near the wet right now. The way the ordinance is written, there is no setback today. They're not non-conforming today. We're not proposing any changes at all. But the way the staff has looked at it is, if the planning board approves the subdivision and then we record it, it creates 2 lots with new creation dates. That puts setbacks on the lot. So now they'll be within a setback. They become non-conforming. Similar to an existing non-conforming, staff said we had to take this route. So we don't plan to change them, there's no modifications, nothing changes. We have 1 lot that'll have a driveway down at the bottom of the plan, plenty of room to build. There's no, the only wetlands, what you see in the light blue there. There's no other issues, no floodplain.
We did go to the Conservation Commission for this, and they
Okay.
had no issues. And I think that's in your minutes.
Do we have that in our records?
I think it was in the staff comments. We've submitted to
Get
the
a
planning
letter
board.
from them. Okay,
We submitted to the planning board. We have not been there yet.
no,
If I can go through the 5 conditions.
yes, thank you.
Not contrary to the public interest, the existing structures have been in place for many years, and no changes or alterations are proposed to their accessory uses. The Sugar Shack in New Hampshire is about as good as it gets. The spirit of the ordinance is reserved. These are accessory structures to a single-family home in an existing residential district. They are interior on the lot, and they're not in any property line setbacks. Granting the variance will do justice because it allows the owners to keep these structures, and it'll have no change to the abutters, as we're not changing any buildings, nothing changes, so the abutters won't notice any changes. And you can see those buildings are very interior to the lot. I don't think any of the abutters could see them. Very similar to the value to abutting properties. We're not proposing any changes to those buildings at all. We just ask them to remain. They're very interior to the property line, so they're there now. So I don't think it'll have any impact on the abutters. Lastly, what is the hardship criteria? The Sugar Shack has been in that current location for at least 25 years. I saw it on an 88 plan. And it's not in conflict to the zoning ordinance currently. Once the submitted subdivision application is recorded, not application, the plan, the zoning changes on the lot. And these will now be within a wetland setback once the setbacks change. And is it a use, section 2, is it a reasonable use? I think it's an accessory structure now that has been there for a long time and there's been no complaints. Section B, the special condition here is that the structures exist today. They've been there for a long time. The proposed subdivision plan proposes no changes to the existing structures or his lot. It'll create a vacant lot. Being an engineer, I always like to run on and keep talking, but
I have
don't
a
think this'll-
question for you, and
Okay.
I'm sorry, this might be very silly. The variance is strictly due to those 2 existing sheds.
that's it.
Okay.
I,
Just wanted to clear that up.
there is a
Has
section
nothing
in
to
your
do with
regs,
this
Yeah.
second,
there's a section in your regs talking about grandfathered uses and
due
existing
to the new lot
non-conforming.
line, those are gonna be too close and they're existing. Okay, I just wanted to be clear, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, questions? We'll start with you, John?
All set. Seems straightforward.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm all set, thank you.
Charlie?
No questions.
Davis?
No.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I think you were very clear. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding.
Yes.
It was strictly for structures that have been there for a long time.
Correct.
Okay, I think that's it. We'll see if there's anybody from the public who would like to speak. Is there anybody out there that would like to speak in this case? Okay, do you have anything else to add before we close the
No
public
rebuttals,
hearing?
no, I'm fine.
Are you sure? Okay. Public hearing is closed for deliberation. Okay, again, even though it's real basic, guys, let's go through that variance criteria so that we have it on the record. It doesn't have to be long-winded, just go through it, that we have understood the case and why we're approving or not approving. Who would like to do it this time?
Take a shot at it.
Great, thank you, Charlie.
It meets public interest in that grandfathering the position of the accessory structures is not contrary to the public interest and meets the spirit of the ordinance. Keeping the structures in place provides substantial justice in that it is not to the detriment of anyone else, doesn't affect the value of other properties, and moving the structures and conceivably losing them there's no fair relationship between that loss and the purpose of the ordinance.
Okay, very good, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Any questions or comments? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wishing you a good syrup season this year.
I would love to have a sugar shack myself, but
We did when I was a kid, collected all that sap.
Sugar shacks turn into cheese shacks.
No, we used to put like the gallon jugs, and I would go with a sled and I would pour it in big, and my father would on the weekends make syrup. Fun.
I haven't made a sure I might try that this year. I only have one.
Oh,
But I'm gonna try.
sorry, let me just get my stuff together here. Oh, I keep losing order. Here we go. Next case. Allard John R. and Atal and Allard Revocable Trust owner applicants are seeking an appeal from an administration decision that a special exception is required to build a single-family home on an existing non-conforming lot that does not have frontage on a Class 5 roadway per Section 14.7.3, use of non-conforming lot, of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The applicant is also seeking a special exception to build a single-family home on an existing lot that does not have road frontage on a town-maintained Class 5 roadway. This concerns Section 14.7.3 and Section 14.5 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 36 Alley Park Drive, a private road, map 6, lot 4, zoned residential 1.
I will motion no regional.
Thank you for that. All in favor? A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good evening. If you'd introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name's...
Hold on for just one second. Are we gonna take these together or separate? Because the second one.
I think we gotta do the special exception one first.
Right.
Before you can progress to the second.
Okay.
Well, just to clarify, so the background of this...
Let's introduce yourself first, and then we'll
Sure.
start. Please.
Doug McGuire with the debate group, here
Okay.
representing the owner and
Thank
applicant,
you.
the Allard Revocable Trust.
Okay.
So what we did is, the staff determined that a special exception was required for this application. We went ahead and prepared that special exception. We do feel that we meet the criteria. However, in reading the ordinance, we don't believe a special exception is necessary, so we were appealing that determination. So I do feel that the appeal should come first. If this board agrees with staff, then we're happy to move forward with the special exception. But I do feel there's some fairly straightforward criteria I could just talk to on that appeal, and you guys will either agree or not. I think it'll be fairly straightforward. But they are both regarding the same exact item. Does everyone, before I get started, does everyone have a copy of the plan, just so you're familiar?
I do not.
Because I brought
I don't know
extras
why
just
I
to
don't.
make sure. And what I did is I brought the GIS, which shows a blowback of it, as well as a zoomed in version, so I can.
Is this a full set?
That, well, no, those are individual, I can just pass out if anyone else.
I think I have one.
Anybody else need one of these? I'm all set.
I've got one here.
Okay, no problem. There you go. Oh, this one too. Yep.
have enough juice in my gut.
You're all set?
I'm good.
So the property in question is this odd-shaped lot that is interior to some additional other lots. This is a pre-existing, non-conforming, grandfathered lot that was created well before your zoning ordinance, dating back from our surveyors previous to 1920s. So very old lots in this area. It does have access off of Allard Park Road, which has access off of Goffstown Back Road. Allard Park Road is a private maintained roadway. So it's not a class 5 road, but it is a viable maintained roadway. There's 2 existing single-family homes off of Allard Parkway, or Road, excuse me, and Surrett Road is off of Allard Park Road, which goes down by the water, and there's several waterfront properties down there, and Surrett Road is also a private maintained road. So we're here because the Allard family lives at 22-17, and they were looking to build an additional single-family home for their daughter, who they would like to be near the family. She just had a baby, and so they were thinking we could do that on this lot 6-4. It seemed to make sense. So when we looked into that, we discussed the probability of being able to do that, and staff said, well, you don't have frontage on a class 5 road, so therefore a special exception is required, and that's related to section 14.7.3. Now, where the appeal of the administrative decision comes in, I can be brief and you guys can let me know what you think, but I think it's fairly clear. 14.7.3, use of a non-conforming lot. And staff already agrees this is non-conforming, that's not being contested. It says, except as may otherwise be allowed in accordance with section 14.5, grandfather clause, and we'll get to that in a second. But of this section, a non-conforming lot may, as a special exception pursuant to section 15.3.2 special exceptions, be developed for any use permitted within the district in which it is located. So what that section is saying is that you need a special exception to develop a non-conforming lot. Of course, at the very beginning though, it does say except as may otherwise be allowed in accordance with section 14.5, which is the grandfather clause. Now, section 14.5 of your ordinance says any legal and conforming use, structure, or lot, and so we're falling under lot here, that became non-conforming as a result of adoption of this ordinance or any subsequent amendment hereto shall be deemed non-conforming, but may be continued in accordance with prior applicable law and ordinances. Any alteration or expansion of such non-conforming use, structure, or lot shall nevertheless be subject to all the provisions of this ordinance and subsequent amendments hereto. So the way I read that is that we have an existing non-conforming lot that conforms to all your applicable zoning as far as lot size, setbacks, buildable area. The only thing it doesn't conform to is frontage on a class 5 road. And so that's the pre-existing non-conforming piece of this lot that makes it non-conforming. It is grandfathered based on section 14.5. So we are not changing the property. We're not altering the layout of the property in any way. We want to just use it as the shape it is configured. And so our thought is, if we were changing it, that would change, as the last applicant just had to deal with. He updated lot lines, changed things, he lost his grandfathered rights. We're not changing anything. An allowed use is a single-family home in the R1 zone, which is what this is zoned.
Right.
And so we do not feel that in this specific case, a special exception is required because of the grandfather clause. I don't see a real applicable use of the grandfather clause if this is not applicable in this case, because the way I look at it is it's lumping all 3 items. It's lumping the use, structure, or lot, and so it's utilizing the lot. And so if this lot in its geometry is grandfathered, existing, non-conforming, then we should be allowed to utilize this for a single family without going through the requirements of section 14.7.3 because it says, except as may otherwise be allowed under the grandfather clause. So we fall under the grandfather clause, and therefore, we didn't feel it was necessary. So that's why the appeal was there. I think that it was just that in many cases with these type of lots where there were maybe lots that didn't have frontage, that may not have been grandfathered pre-existing non-conforming, they were required because, remember, 14.7.3 covers the use for any number of reasons, but when we're talking about the grandfather clause, that would apply to this. So that's why we did that. If this board does not agree, I do have with me the criteria for the special exception if we had to go that route.
I would like to add that I love when we start dealing with these legal use terms that are except for without the blah, blah, blah. I actually had to have that parsed for me, because I don't think that way. And it looks like a special exception would be required based on the way that I parsed the statements when you put them together. So when you put 14.5 together with 14.7.3 and read it together, it seemed to indicate to me that you do need a special exception. So that's how I am interpreting this.
Give me a minute, I'm sorry. This is,
I do agree that the language could be a little bit more clear.
This
I just
probably
was
should.
confused as under section 14.7.3, the use of the non-conforming lot, it says except as otherwise may be allowed in accordance with the grandfather clause, you shall do this. So to me, it's saying you shall get a special exception unless you're falling under the grandfather clause, which in this case, this lot is. So that's where the word except, and then directing you to section 14.5 of the ordinance, to me, I didn't see where that pointed us to a special exception.
Well, say,
go ahead.
if I may, say for the fact, looking at the language of the grandfather specifically, any alteration or expansion of such non-conforming use, structure, or lot shall nevertheless be subject to all the provisions of this ordinance and subsequent amendments thereto. It seems to me you want to build a single-family home on it. You are altering a previously non-conforming use. If you're keeping it a vacant lot is one thing, but I'm with Jason. I think I would support a special exception on this.
The only thing I would add is, and I don't disagree with you on that part, but the use is not non-conforming. The use is permitted. So this is a non-conforming lot just by frontage alone. We're not changing that. Otherwise, a single-family home could be built at any time. If this was if it had the legal frontage, we could do it. So it's the lot itself that's grandfathered, not the use.
So you're saying prior to 1920, it was a legal lot that could have been built?
Built as a house,
As
right.
a house without,
It's actually
and
being
then
used as a
zoning
lot.
changed, okay,
So if
go ahead,
we
Charlie.
had a lot, and this frontage requirement was 200 feet, and we only had 190, would we require them to do a special exception?
That would be a
If it's not grandfathered, yes.
No, it's a grandfathered lot. It's a lot that's been around since 1920, and it doesn't have 200 feet of frontage, it only has 190. Do we have to do a special exception?
Not, you're asking me?
I am asking anybody.
Going by the grandfather clause, I'd say it's grandfathered in.
But,
That's my feeling, but that's,
So
but
how
this
is-
is the road type that's the problem.
Okay.
At least that's the way that I was.
okay.
If it was not,
Did you wanted to ask him a question? I'm sorry.
I'm just curious, if there's currently a baseball field on this lot, and you're looking to take that out and put a structure on it, how is that not an alteration that then changes this and then breaks the grandfather clause?
I guess what I would say, and maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, the use is not what's grandfathered. So right now, it's being used as a ball field. We're asking to put a single-family home there. We're changing the use, which is allowed in the R1 zone. So we're not asking for any relief of the use. And the grandfather clause speaks to not only use, but structure, or, not and, or lot. Now, the lot shape is what's grandfathered. The way I read that is the lot shape, the lack of frontage, let's say, on a class 5 is the grandfathered piece. That piece is not changing. We're not altering the shape or configuration of the lot in any way. So it's a grandfathered lot that would be allowed to be a ball field or a home or any other legally allowed item within the R1 zone. And that and changing from a ball field use to a home use, which is actually a more conforming use in the R1 zone, of course. You know, I think the ball field, I'm not even sure if that's technically an allowed use in the R1. I didn't look that up, but I know that a single-family home is. And so we're just looking to use the lot in its configuration. If we were changing it, and that's actually, just to give a little context, we initially were going to reconfigure some of these non-conforming lots to make them more standardized in shape. And that's where staff said, oh, you're changing lot lines, you know, you're losing that grandfathered lot. So I said, okay, we won't do that. And he's like, well, no, you still have to do it. I'm like, well, that's where that didn't make sense to me. Okay. So that's where we're at. But.
So, and again, I think, as I was reading it, it seems to me like it's a double negative, which ends up reversing your belief. And that's kind of where my mind went to, okay. Which is why I'm saying that you do it. That being said, if we were to take this onto the next level and look at, well, okay, are we going to do a special exception? Do I have any problems with this? I don't.
Yeah, but you can't voice that opinion now. You got to make a decision if you want this. You're going to waive it because of the grandfather, or we're going to go to the next step. So when we go to the next step, then you can voice your opinions. I don't want this muddied between the two. Sorry. It's, you know, you got to make it, you know. Okay.
The state RSA.
Can I just, we have any more questions for the applicant?
I don't know, you might want to weigh in on it.
Okay, go ahead. Then fine, that's good. You were looking here, that's why I was asking. Go ahead.
The state RSA says that the Board of Appeals may have any reasonable may make any reasonable exception and shall have the power to authorize or issue a permit subject to such conditions as it may impose if the issuance of the permit or erection of the building would not tend to distort the official map or increase the difficulty of carrying out the master plan upon which it's based. And this is all on section 674, which has to do with the erection of building on streets. So we certainly have the authority to grant this according to the state.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that helps us, if that helps you.
I mean, I think it's the interpretation. I think from our own zoning, I think we do, but that's how I'm reading it. Jason and I are reading it differently, and that's why we have more than one member on this board.
So that more than one person
Correct.
like me can be right.
Well, we'll see.
I missed you.
Yeah. The grandfather clause, if it applies to lots and non-conforming configured lots, that to me is where this falls. So as a more like extreme example, if you had, say, an ice cream shop on a non-conforming lot that was like a postage stamp, and you wanted to knock that down and put a bank there, and a bank was allowed in the zone as well. Ice cream shop and bank are both allowed. I would say that the lot is grandfathered and would allow a new building to be put, new use, and that doesn't eliminate its grandfathered clause because it's the lot itself that's grandfathered, not the use. So That's how I'm looking at this, is that this is a grandfathered lot in its configuration and lacking of the class 5 frontage. That's not changing.
I would have a more difficult time if there wasn't already a private road in. That's there, it's established, that makes a big difference, in my eyes. Does anybody else have questions regarding this for the applicant? Okay, does anybody in the public want to speak? Okay, do you have anything else to add before I close this portion?
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna close this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to go around the room, just have everybody make a comment if they have one. If they don't, I understand. John, I'm standing with you.
I'm on the grandfathered side, you know. I'd waive the exception because of the grandfather.
So that's your interpretation?
Yes.
And I'm going to take exactly the opposite position from John because the language is pretty specific. It's not just lot, but it's structure, use, structure, or lot. And you're proposing, okay, you've got maybe, I don't know what the conformance of the existing baseball field is, but you're talking about tearing down existing structures and building something on them. That, for me, constitutes an alteration that should make it subject to special exception going forward.
Okay.
So in the use of programming languages, which is what I am familiar with, when you use the term or, one of the cases is true. So lot or use, if any one of those is true, the value of the thing is true. So I agree with Len in that, yeah, because one of those things is being affected, we would have to make a judgment on whether or not a special exception would be granted or not.
Okay. Good point.
I'm still working through the language of it, but 14.7.3 is what we look to when we're looking to develop a lot that is non-conforming. The other sections are for the use and the structures, but this is specifically looking at the lot. And so it looks like I'm leaning towards I don't see how it would hurt to look towards a special exemption to just make sure that we have all the necessary things, because when it's undeveloped as a lot, and that's what's grandfathered in, then we put a structure on the undeveloped lot, it changes how it is resembled, I guess, in the paperwork, so.
Okay. Charlie?
Maybe the path of least resistance is just do the special exception and get on with it.
Davis?
I think my initial reading of the grandfather clause is similar to Jason, where any alteration or expansion of this would then break the grandfather clause. If not, then it does come to the question that the applicant brought up of, is the use of the ball field in that zone non-conforming, and then cuts back to the question of, are they breaking the grandfather clause of changing the use of a grandfathered lot. So I think there's a potential in one of two ways that it could break the grandfather clause and require a special exception.
Okay. I think everybody has valid points. I'm leaning toward the grandfather clause. I don't think it's going to be an issue. They're prepared to come in for a special exception. And anybody have a motion?
I move that we uphold the administrative decision requiring a special exception.
I'll second that.
Okay, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, move on to the next stage, please.
Thank you, sorry to waste that time.
No, that's okay, it was kind of actually
It was
interesting.
enlightening.
Yeah,
was,
it was
it was.
How
important
often
to
do I
me,
get to use
so I
program?
really wanted to ask the board's thoughts on that, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because it was
The next time.
interesting to read
No,
through.
but it's a good, it's educational for all of us.
So under section 14.7.3, we're required for this existing non-conforming lot to obtain a special exception to allow use of it. And so that's what we're here for as this part of the application. There are a number of criteria for the special exception, which I'll quickly run through. The specific site is an appropriate location for such use being consistent with the town's current master plan. This certainly is appropriate. It's zoned in the R1 residential zone, which permits single-family homes, which is what we're proposing here. The lot exceeds the minimum lot size. It's a 4-acre lot as configured. And development of the lot would meet all the applicable building setbacks and building coverage, and the use is in kind with other properties in the area. The second criteria, the size or frequency of the use will not significantly alter the character of the neighborhood. As I mentioned, this existing lot was previously utilized as a ball field, a baseball field. So in addition to 2 existing single-family homes, adding this as a 3rd existing family home will have a significant reduction in overall traffic, just because the ball field, although not a year-round use, when it is in use, it was a fairly substantial use. It was used by high school, games, so they had buses going up in there with full of kids and the whole thing, so much more intensive. The use will not create a nuisance or hazard to vehicles or pedestrians in a manner that cannot be ameliorated. Did I say that right?
Yes.
It looked weirder than it came
It's
out.
like-
So as stated in the criteria of the single-family home, it's in kind with the other uses. It'll be a reduction in vehicle trips and pedestrians overall in the area. So reducing any potential hazards, not that there necessarily were before, but certainly be less now. 4, proposed location is a sufficient size to allow for adequate and appropriate facilities and proper operation of use. As I mentioned, 4-acre lot, significantly larger than that 1-acre requirement in the R1 zone. Land is flat, provides more adequate space, more than adequate space to properly situate a single-family home. And lastly, the proposed location is sufficient size to allow appropriate buffers of this use to adjacent properties. The lot is much larger than required, 4 times larger than required, and buffers in this case probably wouldn't be applicable because it is like uses existing single families on either side. Happy to answer any questions you have on the application.
Is the ball field no longer in use, and if so, how long has it been out of use?
Well, because we were exploring this, he told the people that utilize the field, hey, I'm gonna try to do something for my daughter, so he stopped the use like this year, I believe. So it's fairly recently, but it was all kind of planned because of this. Is that right?
Some of us have had children who played ball there.
Yeah, so it's been a couple years since the ball field's been used.
Anyone else have questions?
The ball field now, how was use for it provided? Like,
Access
was there
or-
permission? Like, who used it? Like, how did they use it? Did they get a permit or did they just show up?
So from what I understand, some of the local schools talked to the landowner, the Allards, and they had an agreement. And I think they were utilizing it even more recently, but I think so Ron McLaren, he's a representative for the owner, is gonna be helping with the home
You
build.
can come right up if you'd like.
And so essentially what it was is, he said, hey, just so you know, I'm planning to do this, you may wanna start looking elsewhere for ball field use, to give them a heads up,
Right.
that type of thing.
I mean, they're not obligated to the town.
No, there's no contract or anything like that, it was,
And there was no town maintenance, like the town didn't maintain the ball field or any of that stuff? Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, yeah, I'm not
It's
that
just
I'm
a
aware.
private agreement that they were allowed to use it.
Money never changed hands, just that, okay, so that's, so they were doing a favor for the town, which now the town has all kinds of ball, well, we have our new place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do not have any further questions.
So what we have is we have a road that is not maintained by the town. It's maintained by an agreement between all the parties that live there, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And that's a written agreement that I'm sure the town has approved many years ago, or is it?
I'm not sure if there's any formal agreements like recorded. I mean, obviously, right now, the home, would be in the family. I mean, they can obviously create legal agreements moving forward to have, for maintenance purposes of the road.
But nobody else has one?
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, that would be one of my questions, because the Class 5, no frontage on a Class 5 road. We've had other situations, people wanting to build on Class 6 roads where it's required waiver of municipal liability and stuff like that. I'm presuming that's something, depending on what the planning board requires, would be taken care of. That's again, the concern with the private road aspect.
Yes, I mean, from all the conversations I've had with staff is, that would be the next step. We would, we would get the building permit through the Board of Selectmen, we would have a waiver of municipal liability. Just like any other Class 6
Right.
that you would have,
Yeah.
so, yep.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna close the hearing unless you have anything else to add.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think Len's brought up a good point with that. I think if we're going to allow for a building there, I think we should probably make it part of the special exception, right? That agreement is in place.
I understand where you're going with that, but there's many houses on that road. And this is one house that you're saying needs to have an agreement.
Well,
The state
So-
RSA
Mhm.
says they need to do that.
But how are you gonna have one person responsible for that road?
Well, that road should, everyone who lives on that road should be responsible, and that's,
But if it's not, if they've been doing this for so many years, I mean, obviously they're doing it, but I think that's a selectman's job, to determine,
There's three houses on that private road.
okay, so there's three
There's
houses.
three houses.
So,
But
my concern is if there's one in place, then naturally, they would have to sign.
Right.
But if there's not one in place, how are you gonna create one household to sign a document?
It's the
saying they'll
it's the
maintain?
two outlets. The two outlet houses are on that particular part of the road. The rest of the road goes down the hill.
And who are the other, okay, my point,
Right.
okay?
Yep.
So you can't, I mean, I don't think that's a decision we're to make, I think that's a selectman decision. Yes, Charlie, if it was a private road, they're building a house on a old lot that is, I'm not gonna use grandfathered, but let's say it is grandfathered. Yes, they would have to sign an agreement to maintain that road, because they're the only ones using it. So now you're telling somebody that there's camps that go down by the lake, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
They can use the road, are they required to maintain it? So I don't know if that's in our purview to put it on one particular lot.
I think it's not so much maintenance as public safety, making sure that emergency vehicles have access, and that, things like plowing, municipal maintenance. If the homeowner waives it, that's fine, but,
Municipal liability is the issue.
Mhm.
Yes.
and, you know, again, when you're talking about things, if that's the way it's been for 100 years with, or in this case, maybe 70 or 80 years with the existing houses, there is one thing, but if you're allowing new construction there, you know, I think that you've got to, you know, hold to current standards.
Yeah, and this is
Jack,
not
how-
unusual.
I'm just curious about the other houses there. How old are they? And is there anything in place in writing that they would maintain?
No, there's nothing in place that they would, in writing that they would maintain. However, in driving down there, everybody lives there year round, okay?
All the way down to the
All the
lake?
way down the lake, they live there year round. You know, there's no weekenders or seasonal.
So, but we're not certain there isn't something in place. So, Charlie, I understand your point of municipal liability. My issue is you can't put that on one person. So you tell them, you have to make sure this road is maintained, and everybody else is like, this is awesome.
But that's,
I don't have to, I'm not obligated, only this one house is. And there's houses past them
No,
that go down.
well, their road is off to the side, the rest of it
This
goes
is a
off to the
different
right.
piece.
But it's all the same road.
yeah, this,
No, one's an Allard Road
The other is Surratt.
and the other's
There's
Surratt.
Surratt Road, yeah.
and
All
if
of
you,
Surratt does go on to Allard though. That's kind of the issue here, is that if you look at the map,
Right.
the GIS map, Surratt tees into Allard, which is a private, they're both private ways.
Yep.
And, you know, I think the waiver of municipal liability, which we would do, I think covers,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
the town on that.
And the selectmen require that.
Yes.
They have, I mean, the selectmen will require
well,
items that are not in our purview here on this board.
also, if you're looking at the GIS map, there's also access to this property from the Riverview Park side. If you've driven down in that area, which I had in connection with another case some months ago, the road comes to pretty much a cul-de-sac end at the Allard property there. There's a stone wall and a private road sign that starts at the end of Riverview Park Road, so you've got access from that end as well. Again, I just think that, you know, and obviously the applicant is not fighting, they say they're willing to do the waiver of municipal liability. I don't see where that puts the onus of maintenance on one particular house, particularly when you're dealing with essentially, this is a family compound kind of situation there where,
You can't mix that. They can sell this to anybody they want.
But that's
I mean,
one of the
you have
things.
to understand that, right? We understand that. I
Right,
mean,
but-
that's not, this isn't a family compound. Just because they're family now doesn't mean in 10 years from now, they are.
well, but it'll still remain a private road.
Yes,
Right.
it will.
So the state just passed a law that on a class 6 road, they do not need the permission, just a waiver from the select board. They just passed that law.
But this is class 5, not 6, right?
It's 5 or 6.
Private
it's still
road,
private.
class
Okay.
6, same
Well,
thing.
I didn't know if
No,
there would be
no,
a
that's
a
fine.
thing.
Well, the selectmen are gonna require it.
Yes.
It's not our purview,
No.
is what I'm trying to get
All they have to
at.
do is sign the waiver with it, so.
And
Well,
that's
actually, it
part
needs
of
to
what
be,
the selectmen.
they have to, the selectmen are gonna ask that it be recorded, and they get a recorded copy.
On the new law,
As of,
on the new law, they just.
But
approve
again,
it.
if that's the selectmen's, that's their purview,
That's their
not this
purview.
board's purview.
whoever's issuing the permit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now they have to, if this was approved by us, they go to the selectmen. It's not final till the selectmen sign off on it. Are there good questions, everybody? Good. These are some good
Well,
hearings tonight.
Is this such a thing that, and I understand what you're saying about, well, this one, but not that one. is there a tipping point where somebody says, well, okay, now we have X number of things here, we wanna turn this into a public road?
That's not our purview.
It's the
That's
planning-
not what we're
planning
here
and
for.
select board.
You know, that fine line that we working, which is, it's tough sometimes.
That road was a fine line on this map, I'll tell you.
I,
It's okay, Len, we don't always agree.
I don't always agree, but in this case, if you're ready for a motion, I'll make a motion that we approve the special exception. I think that in reading your presentation, they've covered all points of the special exception criteria satisfactorily, and, you know, I'll move for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, any comments? Do I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, so who voted on the side? I guess sorry about that. Okay, so you voted. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with the selectmen.
Okay.
Okay, before we move on, let's talk about the minutes. If I didn't do that, yes, in November. I almost made you guys come in on December because I felt like I had to be here, but I'm like, I don't think butters are gonna be happy if they have to come in out in the snow. But anyways, minutes for the November meeting.
Well, we told her when I came back from conference, so I'm glad we did.
Well, it was,
Review minutes of November 4th.
I thought this was gonna go till 10. I'm pumped.
You give good meetings, these, so.
Oh, you're good.
Minutes and then scheduling.
And I wanna talk about, I have a topic to talk about, real quick.
All right.
Minutes. Anybody have any comments about the minutes? We can do a motion to approve the minutes from from the November
Motion to
meeting.
approve the minutes from the November 4th
Do I have a
meeting.
second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can we all vote on the minutes? Let's all vote on the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Right, it doesn't matter, I mean, we're all looking at the minutes and, okay.
There was no mention in the minutes of the applicant who screamed out, "I know you think I'm a crazy chicken lady," on National Chicken Lady Day. There's no in there. That was the best part of the whole.
It was just,
I guess I didn't realize
Okay,
it.
Patty, come on, you gotta put some fun stuff in the minutes, please.
I already complained to her about it.
There was
it's
two
all right.
chicken cases that day, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
We did.
That's right, I did read them, that's right. It's a while ago now.
It was a foul meeting.
Before we talk about schedule, so we have a lot of new members here. I haven't had my little spiel on coming in here. We all prep for meetings, but we try to come in here open-minded. So you should never come in with the determination you're going to approve or not approve. I mean, sometimes when you're reading the stuff in the back of your mind, you do. And I always laugh because whenever I do, I always end up turning it. So, it's really up to the applicant to explain to us why. So I just want to kind of reinforce that with everybody here, that the determination is made by the applicant, abutters, in the questions and answers here on this board. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Len, scheduled for next meeting.
As I pointed out, we have a conflict with the town deliberative session on Tuesday, February 3rd, so I don't know, I don't have,
Well, who sets
now
that?
I'm looking, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that nobody caught it
Does
before that.
anybody have a public meeting? Do you have the list of all the public meetings?
Yes. Well,
If you look at the town
I got-
calendar.
Well, I know, but I don't feel like pulling it up.
Well,
I just
here
have
you
a
go,
list of
Denise.
ours.
Okay,
Got it right
let's
here.
look at, I mean, I just hate to push this off, but I mean,
I mean, or Tuesday, what about Tuesday the 10th, if we just
Could do Tuesday the
Pushed
10th
it a week.
or do Wednesday, but I don't know if Wednesday's available.
yeah, we really need like room availability is the,
Which is not easy for us to make that call right now. Well, you're gonna definitely have Warren Ave come back. Hate to push them back. That wouldn't be very nice.
Do we have to do it on a Tuesday?
Well, that's what we don't know.
well, like I say, it depends on room of it. This room particularly
I
is,
think the room's gonna be the
The
biggest
9th is a
factor.
no also?
Where the heck is this?
Jack, there's
The
nothing.
February
there's no-
10th
I don't
was a
think,
Tuesday.
I don't think the conservation or anything is, I don't think there's anything here on the 10th.
Could you look into it and get back to us on
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, let's see if everybody is, February 10th work for everybody, the Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
10th.
I'm
Look at the
I know it, wait a minute, February 10th, let me make sure I'm not in some other state.
Of mind.
Confusion as often happens, but
You know, I just put this all in my calendar. Oh, good.
no, I'm
And
good.
let's see, I have did I say two? 2 meetings I'm looking. Oh, August,
Jason, have you got the town meeting calendar?
I
there?
was trying to find it, it has moved, I think, again.
Yeah, I had trouble relocating it when I was looking this afternoon, but if you can find it, that might show you who, if anybody, is here on Tuesday the 10th.
Do we know if it's readily accessible upstairs? And the reason that I ask is that, I may have to ask for a quick recess. If this is going to go on for too much longer.
okay, I think, just see what the dates are, send them all out, and we'll see if we can make it.
All right.
Okay? It's not-
Well, do you want, say Tuesday the 10th?
Let's try for that.
Subject to room
Yes.
availability.
Okay, that's
Still on
good.
the 10th.
Okay.
That's good, thank you for that, Len. Okay, anybody have any other questions, comments? Motion to
Motion to adjourn,
adjourn?
please.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Aye.